class. It's good to be back with my fourth graders. Miss Lindsay is excited to be here. So our social studies lesson for today is about the women in the Civil War and their roles. So we've been talking about the men and their roles. Can anybody tell me what they did with the war? Like, what sort of things did the men have to do? Of course, you're right. They fought. They had to go fight. They had to help take care of each other because they were soldiers on the battlefield. They had all kinds of jobs to do with the wars, but most of them had to leave home, which left, what do you think? You're right. It left the women to have to do things. So I want to share my screen with you. And I have this PowerPoint. We're going to go through. It's women's roles during the Civil War. Now, like I said, and we talked about earlier, the men's roles and what they did. And when they were at home, what did the men take care of before the war? That's right. They took care of the agriculture and the farming and the industry jobs and all in the homestead. So that's what they took care of. But when the men went off to war, does that mean that everything just stops? No, you're right. No, I mean, it's got to keep going, right? So who is there to take care of it? The women. You're right. So what did women, let's start back before the war with the women. What did the women do before the war? Look at some of these pictures right here. Can you tell me, based off these pictures, what do you see in them? You see a woman and her child, okay. Women cooking. What is this little sock down here? What is that woman doing with that sock? Yeah, she's sewing. So the women, they sort of took care of the inside of the house. They took care of the cooking, the cleaning, the sewing. They took care of the kids. They tended to the children and things like that. So when the men went off to war, then what did the women do? What do you think the women did? That's right. They had to do everything they already did, but so much more. They had to do so much more. So they had to do the cooking and the cleaning and the tending to the children, but they also did things like, what do you see in these pictures? What is in this top picture right here? What can you see? Yeah, it looks like they're working in the some kind of industry of building buildings and things like that. What about this next one down here? The women is what does that look like she's holding? She's holding crutches. That's right. Why would she be holding crutches? What are those guys doing there? Yeah, she's their nurse. So look at this bottom one. Tell me what you think about it. What are those women holding in it? Guns. Yeah, they're holding guns. So do you think that maybe some women fought in the war? You're right. Some women did. Some women posed as men to fight in the war. They had to be the nurses. They had to take care of the wounded. They had to go ahead and had to go out and take care of the men's jobs on top of all their other jobs that they already did as they did before the war. So women gained a tremendous amount of pressure to take care of things around the house. They gained a tremendous amount of abilities that to help them grow in their skills and their skill sets so that they can take care of things while the men were gone, and even to help take care of things in the war. You know, they may be on the battlefield taking care of the men, feeding the men, and doing the women things but on the battlefield with men. So this next slide is just, this just shows them, it says, I found the job where I fit in best. So the women's, they wound up having to take care of the industry and the agriculture and the business and stuff. And of course, women, they grew stronger and they grew confidence in the fact that they can take care of some things, What do women do today that is different than, how can we compare what women did then in the war, before the war, during the war, and today, in today's time? What are some things that maybe your mama does? Yeah, she works. She still works. Women still work. They outside of the house. Women still work inside of the house. Women have come a long way with getting to do things and be a part of society outside the home because of the war, and they had to take care of those things. So that opened up a whole window for the women. Well, they still do all the things. It's more modern now, right? So what we're going to do for our activity is each group, since there are 4 groups, I have 4 women from the war. Each group is going to have their lady that she really accomplished things in the war. She was very influential in the war, and so I want each group to research and find things on each one of these ladies, and then we are going to present them to the class. So you have your poster, you'll have your groups. Clara Barton is going to be group 1. Dorothea Dix is going to be group 2. Elizabeth Cady Stanton is going to be group 3. And Harriet Tubman is going to be group 4. Now, I'm not going to go into a bunch of details right now on what each one of these ladies did, because that's for you to research and for you to find. Now, what I want you to do is I want you to go to this top website right here from the references page. And in it, that's where you're going to research. You're going to and each one of these ladies is listed, and I want you to research on your poster board, or your visual, however your group wants to do it. I want a few facts about each lady, and I want the lady's occupation. And what if we talked about before, what does occupation mean? Right, it means their job, what they do for a living, what their work is. I want to know how they were an asset during the war. What were some of the things they did in the war that made them special, or during the war that made them special, because they each have their own special influence on the war. And I want to know what they accomplished. What did they do that they were successful at? They may have done different things, but what were they known for? What was their main thing that made them who they are and made them the most influential? So that's what I want us to do. I want us to get our groups, and you can each one of these ladies, I want all that information on. I want you to work with your group collaboratively, which means together. I want you to, you can divide the jobs. Maybe one person finds a certain thing and another person finds a certain thing, but I want everybody working, and I want everybody to really dive in and research these ladies, because they are a huge influence on the Civil War. And then once we are done, I'm going to give you about 20 minutes to do that as a group. And once we are done, each group will present it to the class, just present our findings. So I appreciate you listening, and let's get started. Thanks. Okay, So I went way over on that. But the questions that I needed to address was to identify how you worked with ELL students in this lesson. So the ELL students were grouped strategically in each group so that they could help, so that the other students were able to help them. And as the website that these students would do their research on has an option for the ELL students or any struggling students, even if it's not just ELL, it gives them the option to have the information read to them so that they're not trying to read all that information. It reads it to them. How did you address issues of diversity and culture? Well, address the diversity of the men and the women, the difference and how each one had different positions. The culture was different. I addressed how the culture was, the differences between the culture then and the culture now as far as women and their workplace and their daily lives. How did you differentiate? I differentiated with strategically placing the students in different groups so that one particular student, one individual would not have to do the whole thing. They were able to sort of pick and choose what portion they helped, or their group was able to pick and choose how they could help them to gather this information as a whole. How did you integrate literature? I integrated literature through the readings on the website that the students would be reading to find or researching to find their information on the lady of the Civil War that they were researching. How were you able to build in other subjects into this lesson? Through the creation of the visual, it related to the language arts area as far as subjects goes. So thank you very much.